just to give a quick introduction, and here of course is just to be to share the good news that many of you will have known already, that the interest of course in the new plastics economy global commitment is growing rapidly. Of course, the momentum on ways to address plastic pollution is growing super fast globally. We have the ongoing or almost ongoing negotiations for a legally binding instrument, and of course actions such as those that the new plastics economy global commitment has been advocating for in the last years are needed now more than ever. So what you see in your screens, which hopefully many of you will have seen as well in the website, the government-facing website of the global commitment, which is hosted in UNEP, you will see this list of governments, both in bold, the governments that have already signed, and then in a bit more of a shade, the governments that are in the process of finalizing their signatory pack and providing their signature. So as you can see, this year, so it was a total of 20 governments globally by the end of 2021. In 2022, we have had pledges from 34 new governments that will become signatories this year. And some of these have already advanced, and with many of you, we're still in discussions. So we hope that this workshop is also going to be very useful for that. So moving maybe to the next slide, or actually maybe at this point it would be a good moment just to have a super quick round of introductions. So if you could all unmute yourself for a second, maybe I'll call names to avoid the chaos. To ask or for you to say your name and which government are you representing today. That will be great. So we know who is in the room. So maybe if we can start, I'll just go in the list as it appears in my screen, if that's okay with everybody. And I'll start with Benedetta Delano from Italy. Thanks for specifying it there, but if you could just open your mic and say hi.
Hello, thank you very much for this kind invitation to this very interesting workshop. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Thank you very much, Benedetta. And of course, you're coming from the Italian government, which is also in the process of finalizing the signatory pack. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe if you want to call, because I guess there's you're here perhaps with some colleagues from your government. So we do all the colleagues from Italy first.
Hi, I'm Diana Corradi. I'm from the Italian Ministry for Ecological Transition.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Valeria Galanti. I'm from the Italian Ministry of the Ecological Transition as well, the unit that deals with EU affairs and international action. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Valeria. Okay, so shall we follow with Bianca? Bianca Maral. You're on mute if you're speaking. Okay, maybe there's issues with your mic. So let's move on to Camila Caballero, please.
Hi, I'm Camila Caballero from Environmental Protection Agency from the city of Buenos Aires.
Welcome, Camila. And yes, actually, I think there's a few colleagues from Buenos Aires today. So maybe if I think Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, maybe others.
Yes, hello, everybody. Good morning from Buenos Aires. Also, I'm the General Director of Environmental Strategy and Politics.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carolina. I'm not sure if there's any other colleagues from Buenos Aires that have to. Yes, please
Laurent,
go ahead.
there's also Jacqueline from our team.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jacqueline Geldelon, and also representation of government of Buenos Aires government.
Excellent. Thank you, Jacqueline. And yeah, sorry, because I'm in my list, it's difficult to follow everybody that we've done. So, but great. Let's, so Diana, you already introduced yourself. Jill Cushenbook. I'm sorry, I will not be pronouncing your name properly.
Hi, my name is Gil Cushenbook Scatena from São Paulo State Government, subnational level of government in Brazil.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jill. And great. It's great also to be welcoming Sao Paulo State and several other states of Brazil, hopefully this year. If there's anybody else from your government, if you could please introduce them. Otherwise, we'll move.
I think it's Bianca Amaral is from São Paulo State Government, and I think that have two more persons, but I don't found them on the list, Teresa and Ana Carla, but I think that we can go on.
Excellent. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much, Jill. So next in my list will be Lila. Lila Durix from Paris.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Lila Durix from City of Paris. Thank you, Laurent. And I'm in charge of the Ambition Zero Single-Use Plastic for the Olympic and Paralympic Games of 2024 in Paris.
Excellent. That's an exciting role to have. Naomi, you're next.
Oh, hi. My name is Naomi Carr. I am a sustainable development in the. Nice to meet you all.
Great, thank you, Naomi. Unfortunately, the line was cracking a bit, and I could only hear maybe one of every three words. If you could try and repeat.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, my name is Naomi Karikaho. I'm a Sustainable Development Communicator for National Environment Management Authority. I'm from Uganda.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was perfect now. Thanks, Uganda, also for being here and for being also in the process of becoming a signatory. Next is Ravin Ranawake. And again, apologies for the mispronunciation, calling from Australia and super late. So thank you so much for making it.
No worries at all. Thanks so much, Lawrence. Hi, everyone. Really nice to meet everyone. My name's Ravin. I'm from the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water in Australia, so representing the Australian government. And I'm the only representative from Australia online. Thanks.
And possibly awake at this moment, but thank you so much. So next in the list is Sergio Dinklang.
Hi, good morning to all of you. I'm Sergio Dinklang from the Ministry of Environment of Peru.
Thank you so much, and one of the veterans, I think, in these calls and certainly in the global commitment, together with a few other governments. So thanks for making it, Sergio. I'm not sure if there's anybody else from Peru today.
Not yet, but a partner will join us. Carla Rivera is coming soon.
Perfect. Okay, that's great to know. So let's move on. Silje Rem from Norway.
Good afternoon. I think I'm also the only representative from Norway, and I'm working with the Norwegian Environment Agency. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much and welcome. And I think, well, at least last in this list, Yasmina Tuis, but now I'll check if I'm forgetting anybody. Yasmina, please.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm working for the Belgian government and the subnational government Wallonia, and I'm in charge of the coordination of the transition of the plastic value chain in Wallonia. Nice to meet you.
Excellent. Very nice meeting you, Yasmina. Thanks. Brilliant. So I'm thinking we have certainly a few colleagues from the UN Environment Program. We also have Julia Straat and Maela Rivas from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We have also Ellie Moss, who will be presenting today. So maybe we'll go to that introduction later. But I'm just checking. Well, obviously there's Ran that all of you know because she's kind of the UNEP face for the global commitment. And I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anybody. Ludovica, I think, have you introduced yourself possibly? And sorry because I'm lost with the names.
Evening. No, I did not introduce myself yet. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm very excited of being here today, and I am the new intern for at UNEP for the production and consumption division, economic division, and the production and consumption unit. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely great. Thanks for being here, Ludovica. I'm not sure I'll go through if there's anybody of any other governments that still haven't spoken, please step forward. Otherwise, we'll just continue because I know that I've already used too much time. But it was great to hear you all. So maybe let's move to the next slide. And again, thank you. And it's great to see the map filling up with governments that are joining this kind of coalition of governments that are pushing for action on against plastic pollution. So as mentioned in the beginning, we have been requested by all of you to try and provide a bit more information and to provide more spaces for exchanging experiences. Today is the first of a series of workshops that we've been planning until next spring. Of course, this is just the beginning. It will not be the last workshops, but as you can see on your screens, today we start with talking about communication, but we will follow very shortly with a workshop focused on reuse in the beginning of in early November. Another workshop to talk more about end of life and how to encourage and expand recycling capacity, and particularly looking at recycling, so as the end of life of plastic products in early next year. And then we will talk about extended producer responsibility and successful practices in bringing extended producer responsibility schemes that do work, that send the right signals in the design, and also facilitate the funding for the end of life. Just to put it in a nutshell. The link is in your screens that you can use to register for all these events. But of course, you know that because you already registered for this one. So this is just a reminder. And then maybe without further ado, if we move to the next slide, just to warm up for the session today, that we're focusing on communication. We want to talk about, or just to bring up some key messages that appeared in the or that popped up in the multi-stakeholder dialogues that the team was organizing for the ad hoc open-ended working group, the preparatory meeting for the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on plastic pollution. Many of you will have known as well. I think we shared the invitation as well to participate in that multi-stakeholder dialogue. There was one of the events that was or one of the dialogues that was focusing on communication. So just to bring up some of these key messages that we saw in that one, and that we will be revising today as well. So some of the key elements that we saw were the importance of making the good behavior the social norm. So it's really making it easy, making the good choice the obvious choice for consumers, for consumers at all levels. Also, the importance of focusing on positive communication and emotion. So rather than telling people what is it that they shouldn't do, it's more about sharing what is it that they should do. So it's kind of the things that you want to do rather than what you shouldn't be doing. And of course, we will hear much more about this from Ellie later on. I mean, she's the expert, but I'm just trying to bring up some of these key elements. A super important thing, however, and particularly for those, I mean, for you in the audience, because you're the governments, is that it's not enough to change the behaviors. It's not enough to succeed in making people change what they do. It needs this needs to happen in a context of having access to the right alternatives, having the necessary structures. So the policy and the policy context is absolutely essential. So we want to learn today how to facilitate the communication, but this communication cannot happen in isolation because we need to have the necessary legislative drivers in order to provide incentives and to make sure that actually the options that are preferable are also affordable, because maybe if they have the right incentives, or if the bad alternatives don't have the incentives or don't have perverse subsidies, for instance. So anyway, this is just in a nutshell, but you have here at the bottom of the screens the link, and we will be sharing that as well later, where you can see all the results and also the recordings of all these sessions. So this was the session on the 31st of May. And now, yes, I'll stop talking very soon. So just if we go in this slide, we see the agenda for today. So well, I already spoke for longer than double the time that I had assigned in this opening. Let's see a presentation now from Ran on some of the examples that we have already seen in the reports from governments, and also the resources that are available to all of you from UNEP. We will then hear from Ellen MacArthur Foundation on also the successful examples that they have been seeing and that they are reporting from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And then we'll hear from the expert, from Ellie Moss, who is founder and principal at Moss and Mollusk Consulting, on how she has been also helping and working with many governments on improving their communication activities. After Ellie's presentation, there will be time for questions, and then we will be opening the floor for your own sharing of experiences. We had asked that you know, if you wanted already to block, if you want some time, that you tell us, and thankfully the government of Buenos Aires stepped forward to share some of their experiences, and we'll hear from, I think Jimena and Jacqueline will be presenting, but that's not so we will not only hear from Buenos Aires. The idea is that they will, you know, open the floor, and then all of you will have the chance to share your experiences and ask questions to each other, and hopefully maybe even identify some synergies. So with this, now, yes, I'll hand it over to Ran, and who will take us to the next session. Ran, please.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. And yeah, so my presentation will be quite brief. I just would like to highlight some examples on the awareness raising and communication related activities from global commitment governments that we received from your individual progress report in this reporting cycle. On this slide, the examples you see are definitely not exhaustive. Almost all the global commitment governments have measures and activities on communication, including carrying out campaigns targeting the citizens on how to do better waste sorting and management, planning environment course in school curriculum, organizing campaigns to raise awareness for single-use plastic product bans or restrictions issued by the governments, or disseminating communication materials via TV, radio, social media, and public transportation. So a lot of governments reported progress directly under Area F, which is on supporting social and behavioral change through communication of one of the 6 global commitment action areas. But you also report how communication-related activities are supporting the other action areas, like eliminating problematic or unnecessary plastic products, promote reuse, increase collection and recycling. So some of the examples that you can see on this slide, including in the UK, we see that the Welsh government is using awareness raising campaign to support the introduction of legislation to ban or restrict several single-use plastic items. And in Scotland, now they're running a campaign, It's Time to Get Recycling Sorted. So this includes promoting the new recycling sorter digital tool, which allows residents to search for what items can be recycled and in which color of bin in any Scottish local authority. And Austin, they are also launching a new platform for the Austin Reuse Directory, which aims to help citizens to find where to donate, resell, rent, or repair items. So this could also support a lot the local reuse economy. And the city also hopes to add a refill option in this directory. Meanwhile, they are also running a large marketing campaign to not bag recyclables and keep plastic film out of single-stream recycling bins. And in Chile this year, a campaign will be carried out to prevent fishing gears from entering the oceans through river routes. And the government will also work closely with the local authorities to raise awareness and also provide technical support to fishermen in order to get correct collection, separation, and management of used fishing nets and gears. And in Copenhagen, they are running the Sustainable Choice Initiative with tourist organizations to inform tourists to the city of the waste management and refill options. And of course, as Lawrence already mentioned, we're gonna hear from our colleagues from Buenos Aires later about their work on communication and awareness raising. And with this slide, I just would like to remind you where you can find some UNEP resources to support governments on communication-related activities. So you can see the link just under the heading of this slide. Governments can consider to join Clean Seas campaign. This is also a UNEP initiative, which is aiming at connecting individuals, civil society groups, industry, and also governments for stimulating change and transforming standards and policies to reduce marine litter and its negative impacts. And if you would like to know what would be the knowledge products from UNEP could help you to design your own communication campaigns, you can also click the links for those reports showing on this slide. And of course, we're gonna hear from Ali, who is the author of two of the reports. You can see on the slide, the report Can I Recycle This? And also the report Reducing Plastic Pollution Campaigns at Work. So Ali gonna later share with us the key findings from her research. So with this, let me give the floor back to Lawrence.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ran. And actually, my role now is just to give the floor back to our colleagues from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, who will share some additional examples. So Julia, I'm not sure if you will be sharing from your end. Julia, and I'm not sure if Camila will also be joining us on this.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jurgens. It will be just me today. We're all hands on deck for our UN treaty project. So I thought I'd run you through a few things today. So lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite to speak. I'm just going to try to sort out how to share my deck. Hope that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I already put you as a presenter. Julia, okay. Can you find the sharing button? It should be.
Yes, Microsoft Teams isn't usually very cooperative for me. So let me see. Yes. Sorry, I have to give some sort of permissions.
I think you're already a presenter.
Okay, can you?
Yes, yes, coming. Yep.
Great.
Perfect.
Can you see the circular economy for plastic one-stop com shop?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So, hi everyone. My name is Julia Straat. I've been with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation for almost exactly 3 years now. I started as a communications manager on plastics, and then throughout the years added finance and policy as well. Of course, there's a lot of overlap there. But today I'm here to talk to you about plastics. In the past 3 years, we've seen quite a lot happen in this space. When I joined, it was all hands on deck for the publication of the very first global commitment report. It was a lot of work. We ended up with a PDF that I think was just a bit over 400 pages. In the meantime, we've developed new solutions. We have a beautiful website and database that my colleagues in the Global Commitment team have worked very hard on and are working on at the moment as well, in advance of the publication of our next report on the 2nd of November. And beyond the global commitment, in this time, we've had the chance to develop quite a variety of communication campaigns for different audiences. So I thought what I would do today is to talk through some of the ones that have been most successful in line with the objectives that we had set for them. And I'll do that through using this one-stop comms shop, which is a document that it's a PDF that we put together in spring last year, which some of you may have seen already. And it's essentially, as the name on the tin says, a one-stop comms shop. It has all the resources that we've worked on in the past couple of years related to all of these campaigns. And the reason we embarked on this and we put this together is we wanted to make it as easy as possible for anyone in the Foundation's network, and that includes all of you here today, to use all of these assets to amplify the communications on this urgent crisis that absolutely has to be dealt with. So I'm going to run through this as quickly as possible to not delay the agenda further. And I'm going to kick off with a video that I think some of you hopefully have seen before. If there's anything wrong with the sound, Ron, please interrupt me and we'll figure out a different way to show it. Okay, yep. Here we go.
In the oceans. Yet the problems start long before plastic reaches our oceans, rivers and beaches, and so must the solutions. We must tackle this flood at the source. We must eliminate the plastic we don't need. We must innovate, so all the plastic we do need is designed to be safely.
Oh no, apologies for that.
By 2050, there could be more plastic than fish in the oceans. Yet the problems start long before plastic reaches our oceans, rivers and beaches, and so must the solutions. We must tackle this flood at the source. We must eliminate the plastic we don't need. We must innovate, so all the plastic we do need is designed to be safely reused, recycled or composted. And we must circulate everything we use, making sure the plastic we produce stays in the economy and never becomes waste or pollution.
Join our journey to make plastic waste and pollution a thing of the past.
Okay, so now that the technical glitch is out of the way, some of you may have recognized that voice. So we had the honor to work with Sir David Attenborough a couple of years ago. And you may have also recognized the voice of Ellen MacArthur herself at the end. So for quite a couple of years, we led in our communications with the statistic, which I think is very familiar to all of you by now, that by 2050, there could be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And we use this almost as a springboard to start the conversation on the fact that the problems start long before plastic reaches our oceans, rivers, and beaches. So before it becomes waste or pollution, and so must the solutions. So very much use this downstream statistic to start talking about upstream. So this has been a headline since the Foundation published it back in 2016. And we've led with it to really start the conversation on what a circular economy for plastics should look like. And we've tried to make it as easy as possible. A circular economy for plastic, in a nutshell, it means we must eliminate, so we must prevent waste by eliminating what we don't need from the get-go. We must innovate, so we design packaging that can be reused, recycled, or composted. And we must circulate. We must keep these materials in use so they stay in the economy and out of our environment. We found this has been quite successful in our communications in terms of it being simple enough, but then pointing to a holistic solution. And it really lends itself quite well to a variety of communication tactics and assets. And it's done particularly well on social media. Those stats there are made up for Instagram, but we have had campaigns in which we have had quite good level of engagement. And we've also been quite happy to see a lot of our network take on these assets and use them further to spread this message, so we all have one consistent voice on this issue. What we've also done in the One Stop Comms Shop is create a variety of assets that basically have the same message. You might recognize, for example, the yellow visual from the page that the UNEP team has kindly created on the global commitment. And we've also created these key messages boxes within this toolkit, again, to provide that extra layer that would go with these assets to explain what a circular economy for plastics is and really what we stand for, which you can see here. We've also worked on then taking this concept further. So once we established that it's all about eliminate, innovate, circulate, and we've produced some assets there for specific audiences. In November 2020, we published our Upstream Innovation Guide, which almost went into the secondary layer, so to speak, so bringing the circular economy to life a bit more. So I'm going to show you another video so you can see how the communications on the topic more specifically as well, how we've tried to simplify the message and bring it to life more also for the consumers rather than just for the businesses and governments and other organizations within our network.
This is a film about plastic pollution. Actually, it's about solutions. Upstream Innovation offers solutions to design out packaging waste. Ask yourself, do we need this or not? Sure, you can't always just eliminate the packaging. So rethink the product or rethink the packaging. Cucumbers need plastic to stay fresh, right? Wrong. You know what's really cool? Spray them with an edible spray instead. Reuse is another great solution to design out waste. You can reuse this bottle to make your own cleaning product, like that. And don't buy single-use bottles with bubbly water if you can add bubbles to your tap water. And should all these single-use bottles be different, or can they share one reusable design? Now, if eliminating the packaging doesn't work and reusing things doesn't work, then at least the materials should stay at work. So when we start to design a product or packaging, maybe we shouldn't do it from many materials, but from a single material and a single colour, or no colour. And that is just one example. So if you're looking for packaging solutions, read this guide. Get your copy, because this film will eliminate in 3, 2.
So as you can see, this was a very fun campaign to work with, and the team produced. We have a book, we have a website, we have a database, we have quite a few assets that can be used. And like with the David Attenborough video, we really wanted to move on from just talking about the problem, which is by 2050 more plastic than fish, to really what are the solutions and what does it actually mean to move towards a circular economy for plastics. So the elimination and reuse and material circulation very much map against the previous categories of eliminate, innovate, circulate. But then it goes into the added layer of elimination can mean different things. Reuse, there are 4 models of reuse, for example. Material circulation can mean different things as well. So going into a bit of more granular level, and at the same time very much showing that it's possible. And to connect back to what was said earlier from the insights that you have from the previous workshop, this is also very much what we've tried to do, is to show it's possible, but it's not all on the consumers. There absolutely there has to be the right infrastructure, there have to be the right conditions, but the choice of whether plastic becomes waste or pollution happens long before the consumer is faced with the choice, in front of a supermarket shelf. So very much trying to instill some hope and some solutions, but at the same time making clear that it is very much the responsibility of businesses and governments and the consumer to make this happen. So like I said, these map out quite neatly, so that really helps to take our message further. And this video combined all of these strategies into one, but we've also produced separate videos to go more in depth on what does elimination mean, what does reuse mean, and what does material circulation mean, with specific examples from global companies who have implemented some of these strategies to curb plastic waste and pollution via their packaging. We've also
Julia, sorry to interrupt, because we're running out of time, and I'm not sure how many other slides you have, but we should be wrapping up very, very soon.
Okay, then I'll run through it super quickly, and then I'm happy to share the slides afterwards, and I'll also put a link to the one-stop comm shop in the chat. But basically, we have a full suite of assets to communicate this that is available to all of you to explore, but also to communicate further. Then we also have assets on the vision, which is more going into the technical side of things. So our vision has 6 points, like you know. There's a video for that. All of these details are in the communications kit, like I said. And then, of course, how does this all become a reality is through the global commitment, the Plastics Pact Network, that brings together all of these organizations towards 2025 targets. And for the global commitment specifically, this in the comms one-stop comm shop, you will see as well, we have the key messages, the assets, a variety of videos, and other links. And then there's also specific category for UN Treaty on Plastic Pollution, where you can see what we've produced so far, both on our own and in partnership with WWF. 3 quick ideas on how to use this content, but I'm happy to discuss this more in the Q&A afterwards. You can use all these videos on your website at the next event you're speaking at. Just let me know if you have a specific use for that. It can also be used as part of the climate change and biodiversity campaigns, and of course on social media. Beyond plastics, we have other resources. Again, happy to talk about this when we have more time. And yes, I'm happy to do a Q&A now or later. We don't have Ellen here, unfortunately, today, but I'm here, and I know Maël is also on the call if we have any other specific questions about the global commitment. That's it for me. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Julia. And yes, I think everybody will have appreciated the wealth of assets and materials that are there. I would prefer if we put all the questions and answers after Ellie's presentation, and then, but of course, everybody, even if you want to share any comments, any question in the chat, you can do it in the meantime, and then Julia or Maël can also be answering those in the process. But without further ado, and apologies, Ellie, because we're already running super late, and that was my fault. So I apologize for that. But Ellie, if you could now take us through your slides, and I think you will be sharing them from your end. Great, and they are already there. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say how much I've appreciated everything that's been shared so far. Julia, lovely to see you, and loved all of your slides and videos. So I'm going to speak a little bit, and I'm going to go very quickly, especially because these are both resources that exist that you can reference separately. So I'll just highlight a few things and then make sure we have some time for discussion. So there's two reports that I've had the pleasure of partnering with UNEP and the One Planet Network on. One around standards, labels, and claims on plastic packaging, and the other one around campaigns. And so the way we thought about these two and how they fit together is that, you know, individuals or consumers, as we often call them, are faced with a variety of different choices, but also, you know, different sources of information. So the Can I Recycle This report focused on only the on-package information that folks might receive, whereas the plastic pollution, the plastic campaigns focus more on the sort of broader media universe that people might be experiencing more generally. So just for fun, we'll do this quickly. I wanted to see, and I won't actually do this as a quiz, but in your mind, decide what you think the answer to this question is. Which of these logos indicates that something is recyclable? In the interest of time, I will give you the answer right away. None of them. None of these logos are actually an indication of recyclability. There's, I think, probably the most confusion around the resin identification codes because they use the general sort of publicly accepted symbol for recyclability as their design, the chasing arrows triangle. But in fact, all they do is tell you what a material is. I think this is a huge source of misunderstanding among almost everyone I've ever talked to, other than people who are very much specialized in this space. The green dot is also a source of confusion. Similarly, it has that chasing arrows design, and it looks like you can recycle something, but it doesn't actually mean that at all. So what we did in these reports is, or in this report specifically, is we looked at standards, labels, and claims, and we actually went through a pretty detailed analysis of them. So when you look at the report, you'll be able to see sort of a discussion and assessment of 5 different categories of labels, which look at 5 different, sort of the most relevant to plastic. And the thought process here was really, you know, what are consumers seeing on a package that might help them either make a better purchasing decision or at the end of life know what to do with something once they already have it in their hands. We rated 4 different kind of evaluations of whether something was a good, clear, helpful, understandable label, whether maybe it was a little bit confusing, and in some cases, if it was really sort of quite confusing to the point that it was probably doing more harm than good. We also looked at claims. Claims are sort of anything that a company wants to put on a package about what the nature of the package or product is. They are subject to laws. It has to be true, but sometimes there's a gray area there. And we looked at 5 different types of claims. So made from recycled plastic, made from ocean plastic, bio-based, compostable, biodegradable, and recyclable. And especially as businesses have seen the degree to which consumers are really interested in doing the right thing, there's been an absolute explosion of claims on products about packaging, product, all of that. And some of it's very cute and clever, but a lot of it is also confusing or at the very best sort of maybe out of context. So this is a resource that exists. You can go in and check out all of that. We did want to connect all of these kind of labels and claims to how does this actually make sense in the context of building a circular economy? So I won't go through this in detail, but the basic idea here is the gray circles influence a purchase decision, whereas the blue ones influence an end-of-life decision. So consumers may choose to make a decision about their product or packaging choice based on whether it's bio-based, recycled, you know, reusable, made from ocean plastic, things like that. And this kind of shows where in the butterfly diagram that fits. And then there's different labels that influence what consumers are meant to do with it at the end of life. So this just sort of tries to connect the dots on some of these frameworks. I wanted to highlight, especially for this audience, you know, there's a couple of the recommendations that came out of this report that I think are really important for governments to be thinking about. You know, this is a space that can be or is in some cases regulated. You know, what companies are able to put on their packages and what which labels they use, which types of information they put on there is something that government can influence, provide guidance on, or even in some cases, you know, better enforce what exists or create new enforcement mechanisms. But the big takeaway, which I'm sure will be a surprise to no one, is that there are so many different claims and labels out there. Many of them are extremely confusing, and many of them are giving consumers both the impression that they can sort of do more than they actually can, and also, I think at the same time, eroding people's trust in the system. You know, that they find it so confusing that either they're just not at all sure what to do, or they just don't believe any of it anymore. So in the interest of time, I'll kind of leave it there. I imagine this is not surprising to anyone, but this report does exist as a resource, and I hope that you will use it. I'll drop the link to it in the chat once I'm done presenting. So then going quickly into the other report, which was all about the campaign side of things. So how do you start to shape people's not just understanding of these challenges, but also their behavior? And I couldn't agree more with the insights that were shared out of the dialogues that Laurence spoken to earlier. And you'll hear many of those themes that I'm going to speak to here, which is good because I won't have to go into as much detail. But what we explored here is kind of this gap between people understanding that this is a problem, wanting to do something about it, feeling inspired about taking action, and then not actually doing anything differently in their daily lives. This stat is about sort of people saying, well, you know, I want to do something, but I'm probably not going to do that. I really do want to emphasize the other point around often people don't have meaningful choices. So it's not that I, you know, want to do something and I'm going to kind of be lazy or it's too hard, but I can't. There's really no meaningful choice for me to make within reason. Rather than I'm going to grow my own vegetables, probably not. So really important systemic piece there is creating those actual options. So there's 5 key ideas that I'm going to speak to here. And I love actually how consistent everything in this presentation has been. So I won't share anything maybe that feels super different and new, but will reinforce some of the themes you've already heard. A key idea, and I think this is probably helpful in a government context when you think about some of your campaigns or messaging or things that you're doing, is that we are, as human animals, most motivated to do things differently when we feel like it is very relevant to us. And what that means is it needs to feel relevant to my community. So it has to feel geographically relevant. If it feels geographically far away, I feel less motivated to actually do something different. I might speak to how inspired or moved I am, but it's less likely to change how I'm actually behaving. Temporal distance, so it has to not be too far in the future. It has to be about right now. Otherwise, you know, humans are notoriously bad at even future me. Like I treat future me like a stranger. I am not saving as though I cared about future me. I am not making health choices as though I cared about future me. So then especially sort of future anyone else is even lower down the kind of totem pole in terms of my behavior change. So we need to make sure people feel like this is relevant here, it's relevant now, and it's really relating to people like me. We need to avoid it, the sense of distance between kind of what the problem is or who the problem is affecting, and sort of if it's people that are not like me, again, this sort of, I don't want to use the word caveman, but there's a sort of anthropological aspect of this, which is, you know, I am most motivated as a human to handle people like me. I promise I won't spend this much time on every single one, but this is one of the ones that I think is most helpful. So I'm digging in here, but I won't spend this much time on all of them. And so I think it's really common in this space to talk about for the future, for the earth, for future journey, like none of that actually changes people's behavior. It feels good. People like the idea. If you ask people why they're doing something, they might tell you that's why. But in reality, people change their actual behavior, the things they're doing based on things that feel relevant at their community level now, and for people that they consider like them, which doesn't mean that we can't see everyone as like us. It's just a question of how you tell the story. And then, of course, making sure you're speaking to people's lived experience. So finding ways to understand what is really underlying some of the decisions people are making and why change seems to be harder than you might think. And always, you know, finding ways to align sort of the like environmental messages with things like health messages, cost, you know, things that are very tangible for folks. All right. Number 2, this is one that I think was already addressed on this call, which is making the best choice the default option. So We all suffer from some amount of decision fatigue throughout our days because we're being asked to make so many decisions. So don't give people decisions you don't want them to make. Just, make the best choice, the default option. And then there's a huge point here about norms. So we are all very social animals, and we do what we think everyone does. That is part of how society works. And so you don't want to tell people that nobody's doing something, or, everyone's doing the wrong thing, because guess what? Everyone will think that that's actually what they should do. And this is a place where we also tend to follow role models, celebrities, influencers. These can be at the local level or, at a larger level, but people are very influenced by, I'm speaking, obviously we know this very much in the influencer culture of today, but by what they see people they admire doing. Again, I think this is a theme I can reinforce, tell people what to do, not what not to do. So really giving people specific options of, don't just say, oh, look how horrible everything is and everything, the ocean will be dead soon. We need to tell people very specifically what they can do. And again, connect it with the community. The Vote With Your Tote program, I believe, was in New York City. And it was sort of a neighborhood identity community program that, elevated artists and shop owners, but also gave people a real solution that they could work with. The other thing that I think is helpful is people often think, does it really matter? It's just one straw. And actually Fairy Dish, this is one of my favorite charts because it shows how just like little tiny differences can make a huge impact. So I think letting people know that, yeah, maybe it doesn't feel like a big deal, like one more little piece of film on your cucumber, but help people understand that in the larger context, it really does matter. Catalyzing commitment. This is another way to sort of hack human psychology and behavior and turn it towards the purposes of good and plastic reduction. So we all like to be who we say we are. And so the more you can get people to publicly commit, especially with friends and family, with their work colleagues, in a context where they feel some sense of accountability. These are all ways to get people to follow through with their decisions. So going from this is something I will do to this is something I am doing is a really important leap to get through. And this is one way to support that. And then finally, again, I think I'm reinforcing some of the other things, but tapping positive emotions is really important. Fear and guilt have short-term effects. They can have very big effects, but there are problems with all of the ways that we might use that. I will spend more time on that another time, and you can certainly read about it in the report. But for now, let me tell you what you should do and now what you shouldn't do. And that is focus on emotions like pride, love, optimism, and hope. And I think humor is just one of the most effective tools here. You could already see that a little bit in some of the Ellen MacArthur videos, is like really engaging people in a way that is just a little bit quirky, a little bit funny. It gets us out of our sort of more logical heads, and it can be a way to critique behavior that is easier to hear than just being told, don't do this, you're a bad person. I have one great example is this beach sign here, why are you littering? Like, I am a jerk. I don't care. My mommy cleans. Like, it's silly, but it sort of does, it causes people to ask themselves, why wouldn't I just take this to the trash can or the recycle bin? So that's all I've got for today. And these are resources I hope will be useful. I will mention that the Reducing Plastic Pollution report has 50 actual campaign examples. So you can go to the website and you can download the full report, and it'll give you, they're from all over the world, and each of them is evaluated on a set of criteria where they're sort of discussed like what they did well, maybe what they might have done a little bit differently. So if you're looking for inspiration and ideas, that can be a really helpful resource, I hope, as well. And I hope I have successfully stopped sharing.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Ellie. And
bet.
yeah, thanks. That was truly inspiring. Thank you so much. Yes, I guess we need to retain that message with the humor, with a smile. I mean, I love that. With a smile comes the revolution towards a new plastics economy. I mean, I don't know, something like that. But we need to be more specific. So questions. I see. I mean, is there any question from the floor that you would like to take? I'm checking also if I get, well, Ellie's a rock star. Thank you, Garrett. That's that's a good comment. Absolutely. Any questions, any comments? Checking in the chat. Oh, great. Julia shared the one-stop shop the one-stop comms shop. So with many of the reports, the resources that that Julia was sharing. So please copy that link in the chat. Any questions for Ellie, for Julia, or any other questions, or you know, if you want to start the discussion, we have some time for open discussion as well today. But as I said, we're running pretty late. So anyway, we can mash these things together. I'm just looking around, but I don't see hands. I don't see hands, or I don't see questions. So maybe we can also start going into the open discussion. I mean, this was certainly very, very clear, and I think everybody's quite willing as well to dig into the presentations and have them there. Brilliant. Thanks, Ellie, for sharing as well that link. So yeah, I think today is going to be quite a resourceful day, and you will all be quite busy with looking at all these assets if you didn't know them yet. Great. So more links coming in. If there are no specific questions now, I mean, if you come up with a question later, we can also take it. But then we will move to sharing some examples and having a quick round of discussion of sharing examples. We will have some guiding questions as well. I mean, I think the idea we were asking you to talk about or to bring into this conversation was to share progress, experiences, challenges and lessons learned on communication efforts that you are doing from your governments to address plastic pollution. We would like to hear more about what communication tools you're using, any efforts, also particularly, I mean, it's not just about the communications that you're doing, but are you also trying to measure the behavioral change that has been triggered through these communication efforts? Measuring the actual impact of communication is very tricky, but it's extremely important as well. So please do share that if you have any examples. And also any specific needs that you find as governments in terms of support that you would like to have to deliver awareness raising campaigns to address plastic pollution. I mean, if there are specific things, maybe there are already resources which are available, or maybe we can try and make them happen from UNEP, from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, from other organizations. So all of these elements would be great. But maybe to kickstart this discussion, we're very grateful that the government of Buenos Aires already offered to share some of their examples. So yeah, maybe we'll just open the floor now, and I'm not sure whether Jimena or Jacqueline will you be wanting to share some slides, and if so, I think you can do it.
Yeah, I have their slides. Maybe I can share directly from my end, so
Perfect.
that might be easier. Yeah, can you
Excellent.
see it?
Yep, coming up very nicely.
Great.
Brilliant. So colleagues, the floor is yours. You can start talking through the slides, and then yeah, this
Great.
But also for everybody else, remember this is the starting point, so feel free to also share your resources even if you don't have slides today, to exchange these experiences.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lorenk and Ran. First of all, I would like to thank you for this to the UNEP and also to Ellen MacArthur for the opportunity to let us share with you guys our communication strategy from Buenos Aires City. And I also want to let Shaki, my teammate, to let her also share, Shaki, with everybody what you're thinking about this presentation as well. So next slide, please. To start, we wanted to share with you some data about Buenos Aires City. Our city has mere over 3 million citizens, and it's also visited an estimated of 3 million citizens from around the city, from the neighborhoods around Buenos Aires that come here to work and study from Monday to Friday. So it's a very populated city, as most big cities. So it produces a lot of waste and garbage. We have about 7.5 tons of garbage that are generated daily, and about 12, almost 13% of this it's plastic. So Buenos Aires has been in a big campaign to waste sorting from around 10 or over 10 years. So right now we are in a more grounded place about the strategy, and we have come a long way, but it's still very difficult to get every part of the sorting waste we would like to have done, because, well, it depends a lot of the system we're managing and also of the citizens' commitment in this sorting. Next slide, please. So we are part of the Environmental Protection Agency from Buenos Aires. Our goal is to protect, of course, the environment around the Buenos Aires city. And we have different strategies in terms of what it means, what it takes on waste, especially on specific types of waste. One of them is plastic, and of course, single-use plastic. These policies regarding waste sorting and giving solution to the waste problem, it's also shared with another area of our government, that is the urban hygiene area, because this, of course, it's also a public space problem. And we have been working together in trying to give a solution to the waste generating problem in our city for, like I said, over 10 years now. APRA was created in 2007, and in our team we work on special waste treatment, like batteries and different types of fabric, different types of waste that are more specific. And we have some campaigns regarding single-use plastics. Next slide, please. So we have been working on the Ellen MacArthur and UNEP commitment since 2019, and we are committed in every aspects of all areas, but we have established specific goals in these 3 commitments. Especially supporting social and behavior change through strategic communication to address plastic pollution and other additional. Like I said, Buenos Aires has been working in this policy for a long time, and one of our main objectives is to give an education to our citizens about the plastic pollution problem, the waste and garbage in general problems, and what we can all do to give a solution to this issue. So it has been a very important matter for us to have a specific work in terms of communication. Next slide, please. So we have different strategies. We, of course, like to start first on the elimination of plastic. This would mean to not choose plastic if it can be possible by the citizens, to choose different materials, especially choose reusable packaging and reusable products that don't mean to having a waste to be thrown. So the sensibilization of citizens through different messages are around the plastic problem, the importance of the citizens' action, and the different environmental policies we have in Buenos Aires for reduction and recycling, and the different alternatives to use of plastic. Like I said, we can choose different materials that don't mean necessarily to choose plastic. And we, of course, communicate about the importance of recycling if it wasn't possible to choose another material or to choose a product that doesn't involve plastic. So we have a very strong message regarding the different possibilities that the city offers to have this material recycled. So we have different types of campaigns that we're going to show you next. And we also encourage on the innovation. We work very closely with startups and different companies to have this this roundtable to work on the innovation of materials, innovation of solutions, and we want to work with the private sector very closely because we are very convinced that this has to be a very united work, because they are the ones that have the key to have more innovative materials and solutions to start using different types of packaging that doesn't involve necessarily plastic. Next slide, please. So we give a lot of credit to social networks and websites. We have been working in different campaigns. We have Instagram, we have YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We are exploring all these social networks, and of course we adapt this message regarding the network, but we think it's very important to have a big variety and a diversity of different channels so we can impact on different citizens, because we know it's not the same, maybe the same citizens that look these videos or watch this information on Facebook and or TikTok. So we want this variety to maybe get to this different types of population. So right now we are working very closely with campaigns that talk about the impact on the environment that the plastic has, especially on animals and on waste streams, because we've always been talking about the waste problem, but right now we're trying to attack on a very specific point, that is the waste you generate or the waste you're not kind of given the right treatment. It ends on our waste streams, and it directly has a problem on fish and birds and on animals. So we are working very closely with that. And of course that we always try to share information about the different plastics, where you can throw them, the different streams that the city has, and the options that the city has for citizens to put their garbage. So we have been working a lot about that in the past 10 years. Next slide, please. So in general, like I said, we have a very big diversity of messages through plastics. One of our breaking points in Buenos Aires was in 2017, when we banned plastic bags from supermarkets and different types of markets. That was like a very shocking moment for population, because they didn't know what to expect and how this was going to work. We didn't know as well, but unfortunately, the citizens responded very well, and we have been carrying this policy that we are aiming that it's it will spread to different types of commerce. And also we have banned what is plastic straws from the food sector, and this has also worked very well. And surprisingly for us, the citizens were demanding that we should ban other plastics, because the message was, okay, you're banning the straws, but what about the cups? So this has been a very good point for us to keep working on spreading the message of the choosing, that you as a consumer have the choice to pick another material, not necessarily plastic. And this has also been a ground for us to work with the private sector to keep pushing the innovation, like I was commenting before, to work on different materials and maybe replace what is plastic cups for another material. So you can also see some campaigns that are aiming for the sensibilization about the impact of plastic on waste on water streams. And also we are very keen on working with startups, because we have a lot of startups that work with different materials and give RVUs to plastics that right now are not very easy to recycle. So we are very keen on putting together the citizens and their garbage or what they're throwing with the startups that can give this material another use. So we are always talking about the circularity of these materials and the importance of giving another life to this type of waste. We also have joined this campaign of July's Plastic Free July. And this has been working very well. We have been working on this campaign for the past years, and it has been a very big success for us, because it has put a light on the importance of trying to eliminate plastic from our life. So that has been a very big hit for Buenos Aires. Next slide, please.
Carolina, just sorry to interrupt here. Just also because we're running out of time, we have 15 minutes left in the meeting. So maybe if you could wrap up and maybe highlight some of these elements, so there's also time for others to share their experience or to ask questions. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry. Just to finish, this is a very important campaign, of like a massive campaign on public space. It has come out on public space, TV, radio. It has been very major, and it has given a very big focus on waste sorting, because we still have an issue with that. And so it has been very important to have this very visually attractive campaign all over the public space. Next slide, please. This is another example of the campaigns we're trying to give education about the where all our garbage is ending. That's on water streams. So this has been a very big help to give an awareness of citizens about where does all this garbage goes. Next slide, please. And to finish, we wanted to share with you our truck, Punto Verde Móvil. This is like a truck that we receive different types of waste streams, special waste, but it's also a very important part of our sensibilization and educational program, because with this truck we can go anywhere from events to schools to public spaces to everywhere, and we take the opportunity to share information with the citizens and to show them. That's, I think, that our more important goal, to show them their materials, what they're giving to us, what we can do with that. So we can show them plastic, wood, what it comes out with, the waste regarding with telephones and batteries. So this is a very specific point for us, where we can share information regarding with waste, and also in a very playful experience. So that's it from our side. Thank you. I'm sorry for the extended time, but it was very nice to share with you our experience.
It's perfect. Thank you very much, Carolina. That was super appreciated to learn a bit more of what Buenos Aires is doing, and yeah, I mean, touching at different points of communication. So that was very useful. I mean, now it's really the time to open the floor for everybody that wants to share any further elements. Ran, I'm not sure, it might be useful to have the guiding questions up, but certainly I think it's open floor, it's open mic. Also, if you want to comment on the experiences, the examples shared by Carolina, or from on the previous examples as well. I mean, of course, the idea is to offer this space to exchange experiences. I mean, if you've seen something that, oh, maybe that's interesting, it might work in my government. It's also matchmaking. So, you know, if you then want to get in touch with each other, that's the whole spirit of this. But please, I think I hear my voice too much today. So share yours.
Lila, I would have one question. It was really interesting to see this wall communication strategy, which we did not start in the city of Paris. Have you been able to monitor the impact in terms of behavioral change? I know this is really a hard question, and if you succeed, I'm really impressed, because this is really the point.
Excellent. That's a super good question. Carolina, I guess that was for you. Or anybody else who has been monitoring impact. Please go ahead.
I think we can measure the impact on the behavioral change of citizens through the plastic. I mean, the recyclable waste we are getting at the green points where we sort the material, because it has been increasing through time. And we know this is thanks to the campaigns we're launching over the years, and also on making our system, our sorting system, more strong, because right now we have reached a point where citizens have a waste container in every block. So a waste container for recyclable items, I mean. So that was very major for us, because here in Buenos Aires, we work with a social network of waste collectors. This is not a company, it's a social enterprise. So it has its ups and downs. So it was a very big goal for us to have these containers in every block. And with that system a little bit more strong, and with these campaigns, we have increased. So we think that's a good sign of the behavioral change. So we also have polls where we ask people how they see the urban hygiene in the city, and this has been going very well. But right now, I think in this past 10 years, Buenos Aires has been very focused in waste sorting, but also with a cleaning system in general. So I think right now we have to get a little bit more deep in the thoughts of the citizens regarding this sorting system.
Excellent. That was super useful. I hope that was useful for you as well, Lila. But indeed, I think having kind of ideas of the KPIs, I mean, if you want to look at the total amount of waste that is being collected and recycled, perhaps also the total amount of waste that is being produced, but polls as well, we hear to get what's the perception as well on cleanliness, on hygiene in the city. That's very useful. Other questions, other comments? Benedetta.
Thank you very much, Graham, and thank you everybody, and especially Brazil for this presentation that we found very, very inspiring. And I mean, I'm not able now to answer to all your questions, but just to share with you some thoughts. I can be brief, and I can say that the key messages that came from you to us today is that really that behavioral changes should be embedded in the various policy action to be effective in the Brazilian experience. So beside the restrictive measures and the legislative measure, also funds for recycling infrastructure, but also the stakeholder involvements. and in research and in innovation. And I think this is the key point for today. I mean, it's our personal takeaway message, let's say. And in this sense, I found very interesting also the question, the second question that also the colleague from France highlighted. Since we are now in a very exciting programming phase from our side at national level, because we are now we already finalized the national waste prevention program, and we are going to finalize and we finalize also the national strategy for circular economy, but we are also trying to finalize the draft sense. Of course, plastic will be and is already in this program, and will be it's also in the waste prevention plan as one of the key sectors to be addressed. And in this framework, we are trying, especially for the prevention plan, we are really trying to find a way to link the targeted measure of this prevention plan to indicators, to relative indicators, to see the real impact of the program to the achievement of the target, the waste prevention targets. That they are still discussing the amount of the targets, but there will be some targets in our program. And in this sense, this discussion on the possible indicators for the behavioral changes is very interesting. It's very interesting for us. So really, we will appreciate if we can keep in touch also with the government involvement today to see how we can shape these indicators. So we heard the indication from Carolina from Brazil, but it's something, it's a kind of thing for thought for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benedetta. Just to be clear, I'm sorry, I probably didn't introduce Carolina properly, but Carolina is from Argentina in Buenos Aires. So just to ensure that we're putting the people in the right place in the map.
Sorry for the mistake.
No, that's probably me. Carolina, please, I don't know if you wanted to provide any comments. Otherwise, I have a few, and I'm not sure if we will have some others before we close.
No, I just think that it's of course very difficult to work on these indicators because well, I think this is something that we have discussed and this commitment before, because with waste, I think it's very difficult to establish some indicators, because well, especially at least here in Latin America, South America, waste, it's also a reflection of the context and the economic context, the social context. So for us, sometimes it's very difficult to follow exactly if our plans are going well, if we're having success, because well, it really depends on the context and if our economy is going well, or if we have some problems. So yes, I think it's a challenge for us. It has also been a challenge working with this social enterprise that is the waste collecting system around the recyclable items. But yeah, I think that in the past years we have been able to establish at least some ground levels and to work from there, and trying to measure what is also not only what we're receiving at the green sorting spaces, but also if we can receive new materials, because it's also a matter of the developing of the recycling industry, that it's not very developed here in Buenos Aires. So we can right now give a treatment to some specific plastics, but not all of them. but I think has been also a success from our side to start working with startups and different types of business that give another life to these plastics. But with those cases, I think that the KPIs and the metrics are kind of spread through different systems, and that's also a challenge because we have plastic that goes through different kind of places, and it's not coming to just one place so we can measure it. So yes, I think I understand you, Benedetta, and I think that's a challenge for us all to have good metrics on waste, but that's what we need because we need the information to make decisions. So I think we're constantly working on having a more strict measure, and also to measure what escapes from the system, because of course we have like a parallel waste treatment that's from different actors that are not included in the formal system. So it's also a challenge to have a global measure of the waste you're generating and treating. So it is a challenge, but I think we need to keep forward on working on this, because this is the information we need to keep giving solutions and to keep finding innovative solutions to, especially to the plastic problem.
Thank you very much, Carolina. We've and thank you for those comments. That those were very useful in terms of the types of indicators. We've run out of time. I would just like to point at maybe two questions that are coming up to me. So on the one hand, and particularly those of you who might already have also experience on these key elements, so indicators. What would be the good indicators or best indicators to measure this behavior change? Certainly, we've heard some elements of, okay, how is the system changing? So if there's any quick suggestions, please put them in the chat or chip in. Ellie, Julia, I'm looking also at you as the experts in communication, but of course, anybody else. And if there are any recommendations as well of the ways to structure these type of indicators and information, kind of generating information via polls, any examples of that would be super useful. And then also, you've highlighted, I think also Benedetta and others. I mean, I think certainly this kind of exchange is useful. We're kind of getting warm up now with the communication, but that's also a question for us in UNEP. In terms of how do we facilitate this communication and to ensure that you keep exchanging this information. So if you have any ideas on things that you would like to do, I mean, we're organizing these webinars, but if you would like us as well to organize, I don't know, an email exchanging list, some sort of coordination of this community of practice. So essentially, it's not kind of just us putting this information out there, but as we can see, you already have this information among yourselves, and you can already be sharing that. So if there's any ways that you would like us to do this, or ways in which you would not like us to do this, please, not another email list. Just let us know as well, because of course we want to help, but well, it needs to be helpful. So if there's any other point before, I mean, I see also Vivian, our colleague from the Mexico office, sharing as well an initiative similar to the green points, the puntos verdes móviles. So that's in the chat as well. If there's any other element that you would like to share, we're already 2 minutes over time, but before everybody has to jump off to their next meeting. If not, I'm sorry, because I kind of we certainly try to compress a lot in this hour and a half, but I found it extremely useful and interesting. So I hope you did too. We will be sharing, as Ran was saying, we will be sharing the slides, and I'm not sure exactly how we will put the recording, so it's also available for you if you want to go back to any of the points afterwards. But in any case, it's been super nice to see you all here today. Again, thank you for making the time, and looking forward to continuing the collaboration. I see Ravin. Yes, if you want to jump in, Ravin, because I won't be reading super fast, but that sounds interesting.
Thanks, Lawrence. Yeah, just really quickly, just wanted to share some progress on the Australasian recycling label. So as some of you might be aware, we are supporting the Australian recycling label as an evidence-based, really easily understood recycling label in Australia, and it continues to grow from strength to strength here in Australia and New Zealand, and which we're really pleased to see. So recently passed its 500 member mark, and also seeing it on over 250,000 product lines in Australia. And New Zealand also recently agreed or supported for its industry to adopt the Australasian recycling label as well. So we're really pleased to see that progress, and we're also providing some more funding for small and medium enterprises to expand and use the ARL as well. So yeah, thanks.
That's really good to know. And Ravin, maybe for the next time we will be checking or asking about this label and seeing how if it's kind of already incorporating some of the guidelines or recommendations in that can I recycle this report that Ali presented. But also I think the useful thing will be, okay, so the proof in the end is whether you will be able to see that recycling is going up in Australia, and if you're measuring those indicators as well, that would be super useful. But of course, that's a more difficult part.
Definitely. Oh yeah, make sure that the right people who are leading on the ARL work will be at the next workshop. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks again, and thank you also for staying until so late for you. If there's nothing else, and I don't see any more comments, but you see also Julia shared her email in the chat, so please take a note of that before we close the meeting. Ellie as well. Thank you, Ellie, for your time and for sharing all the knowledge and experience. And again, thanks to all. Please remember to register if you haven't done so for the next workshops as part of this series, and we'll be in touch. We hope to see you again very, very soon. Have a good rest of the day wherever you are.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.